Hi, I'm Mark Toole with 8020service.com. Today's customer service video question of the day, again, comes from Quora. It's a long one, but the question is, the question is long, not my answer, hopefully. The question is, what are some of the strange or creepy things store video security surveillance cameras can do now with customers? I'm not going to talk about creepy on this. That's kind of obvious. They can watch you change, or in the bathroom, or look down your skirt or down your shirt at your cleavages or whatever. We're not going to talk about that. Someone will surely write a thing. I used to see a thing where they looked at people's boobies. Okay, not what this video is about. I'm going to talk about something a little bit more interesting, and it started with a conversation a while back about which country has the worst tourists. Many people will say Chinese tourists are the worst. I've seen them open doors this wide, slink through sideways, and pull them shut in someone else's face. Apparently in Hong Kong, they poop on the floor in the mall. Lots of bad things. But someone told me that Brazilian tourists are actually much, much worse. I was talking to a couple of people who both, coincidentally, happened to previously work at Disneyland. And they said that at least at Disneyland, the Brazilian tourists are by far the worst people there. They saw a little boy maybe 6 years old from England, wearing an England soccer jersey, surrounded and harassed by a bunch of Brazilian children because they didn't like the English soccer team. But they said that at Disneyland, the biggest problem they had with Brazilian tourists was shoplifting. And of course, this wasn't just the Brazilians, but they have problems at Disneyland with shoplifting. It happens a lot. This video is about their interesting solution that one of these people told me about. I couldn't find anything about this online. I don't think they publicize it. Sorry if you're a Brazilian tourist and I ruin your plans by foiling this out, or maybe you're going to improve your plans because I tell you about this. I'm not making this video to help Brazilians shoplift from Disneyland, but here's the story. Basically, Disneyland has these cameras. They have all these stores. I've never been to Disneyland. I don't care to go to Disneyland. But apparently they have all these stores within Disneyland. And the normal way of doing things there is you go to each store, just like any store anywhere else. You go to the store, you get the things you want, you pay for them, you leave. But they would notice people shoplifting. They would stick it in their shirt, they'd stick it in their bag, whatever. They'd be watching this all on camera. But instead of catching these people, confronting them when they leave the store, they just continue to watch them with the camera throughout the day. And then they go to another store, and they would steal some more things. And they would go to another store, and they would steal some more things. They'd stick them in their bag, stick them in their purse, stick them in their clothing, whatever. They didn't stop them. They let them go about their day, have their enjoyable time at Disneyland. Going around, riding the rides, having a good time, and yes, stealing things from the various stores. They didn't stop them. They didn't try to confront them at all. Until the end of the day when they went to leave. Then, as they went around, the company, apparently, through the use of their security cameras, would keep track of each item that each person took. And they'd create a bill, a running total of everything they took. And then at the gate, when they go to leave, they say, oh, hold on a second. This is the last cash register we have before you leave the park. You need to pay for your purchases. Here's the bill of the various things that you've picked up while you were here at the park. This leaves the shoplifter with a choice. They can pay the bill, buy all these things they were never otherwise intending to buy. Most of it junk, by the way, overpriced Disney junk, as you can imagine. They could pay the bill. This guy told me that the bills were often well over $1,000 for the stuff that they took. Or they could admit that they never intended to buy these things, that they were trying to steal it. They could take their chances with what the Disney security guards do from there. Make a call. This person winds up in jail in a foreign country. Their children, they probably don't become the property of Walt Disney, but their children get sent somewhere while they deal with this thing. It becomes a very unpleasant incident for these people. Or it all goes away and they simply pay for the things that they took and leave. And They know. It's not, everyone knows what it is when they're confronted with this, but apparently most of them choose to simply pay for the items. It's not that these people apparently are poor, don't have the money to pay for the things. It's just some people like to steal, and these shoplifters that gathered up all this stuff, given the choice, were able to simply pay for it rather than getting themselves into legal trouble. this is an interesting approach. Strange, sure, not creepy, but it's an interesting use of these surveillance cameras, and a big company like Disney with all these security guards and a controlled access place like a theme park, this sort of thing could work. Now, did they probably miss some items? Sure, of course. But shoplifting is a big problem for stores. I'm sure it's an even bigger problem for a thing like Disney with many, many stores, all under the same company, all under the same banner. So instead of simply confronting someone, having an unpleasant interaction, having them scream and yell and run out of the park, they get to stay all day. They get to ride the rides and things like that. They paid to come in, obviously, but they're going to stay all day. They need to get food. I'm guessing, I've never been there, but I'm sure the food stands, the concession stands, things like that, the vending machines are not easy to shoplift from. Those things you would have to pay for. You buy that. They're probably not simply stealing everything. They're probably buying some things along the way too. Maybe. I don't know. But this way, Disney gets to avoid having a confrontation, the happiest place on earth, or whatever they call it. I don't know if that's them or somebody else, but everybody goes about their day. Their paying customers don't see someone being shaken down or arrested for shoplifting or dragged out of the park. Everything's happy and merry and good. Then at the end of the day, the company recovers all the losses from their shoplifting at full price, by the way, and really essentially makes more sales than they ever otherwise would have, because most shoplifters, generally speaking, unless there's exceptions, but they're generally stealing things that they would not necessarily otherwise buy. It's like back in the BitTorrent days or the music piracy days. You get on the thing and you see all these MP3s, like, oh, I wonder what that song is. Listen, download. You wouldn't go to the store and buy 30 CDs, but you might sit there and download 30 CDs, listen to them once and say this sucks and get rid of it. Same idea, I guess, with shoplifting. And they found a clever way to not only cut the losses from shoplifting, but also a clever way to actually make more profit from it by allowing it to continue, by allowing people to think they're getting away with things that they're not, and then charging them for it at the end with the implied legal unpleasantness threat of being arrested in a foreign country if they don't pay up at the end of the day. So that is a strange but not creepy use. I guess some might call it creepy if you sympathize with shoplifters, but a strange but non-creepy use of surveillance cameras. It's a little bit different than my usual videos, and this really doesn't have too much of an implication for your business if you're watching this for business purposes. It's just kind of an interesting story. I guess if you want to draw a broader lesson from this, is to be creative, is to think of things differently and uniquely, and not just jump to the first obvious solution to a problem. Here, someone is shoplifting. The obvious solution is grab them, catch them, tell them they can't shoplift and take the stuff back and kick them out or have them arrested. Disney found a way to do that, to instead of doing that, to maintain the peace at least for a while, and in the process make more money off of it. Now, this probably doesn't apply to your business if you're watching this, unless you're running a physical store with a controlled exit gate. If you are, give it a try, I guess. But take it as a lesson to look at your problems a little bit more deeply, think a little bit more creatively about problems, customer service, customer support, customer retention, all of this stuff. Think of ways that you can solve things differently, not just in the obvious first order solution that comes to mind. This is not necessarily what Disney's doing, but it's an example of the example of the 80-20 principle, focusing on the few things that produce the biggest impact, which is what I talk about in all these customer service videos, all of my customer service writing, why I do these videos here on Quora. So that's my answer to this question, I guess. I'm going to wrap this up here. As always, I do one of these videos every weekday on a customer service question. This one comes from Quora. I post these on Quora and on YouTube. So if you have a question, ask me on Quora. Ask me in the comments on YouTube. I may answer it in a future video. If it's on Quora, I may answer it in written form. I do written answers there as well. Sometimes these wind up being a longer form post on the website, 8020service.com, or a daily email. Again, get on the list at 8020service.com if you're interested in that. Otherwise, like, thumbs up, subscribe, follow. Come back tomorrow for another video.